Sai Ram. Even as I begin my satsang today, I would like to open with an observation that I have made. I have noticed over the last few months that whenever I pick a theme or I am given a theme to speak about for a satsang, Swami puts his own test right before the satsang to see whether I have really assimilated or understood that theme. For instance, now I plan to speak about God's delays not being His denials. This was a theme that was scheduled months ago for a talk that I had to deliver. Now, can you believe it? Just one day before the talk, I get a call which informs me that the talk has been cancelled. That was fine, and I took it as Swami's blessings. But then I began to get multiple messages from so many people asking me, why has the talk been cancelled? Even I wondered, why has the talk been cancelled? I had no proper response. And then as I closed my eyes, I could see Swami in my heart smiling. And I knew the reply that I had to give all of them. I messaged back or replied back or told back on the phone. The talk has been cancelled because Swami wants to tell us that his delays are not his denials. And so here it is, a satsang on his delays not being his denials. I'm sure this is not an experience unique to me, but to everybody, that in life we face multiple disappointments. We only wish that things could have gone the way we wish so that everything can be wonderful. But things rarely go the way we wish. At such times, when we get really disappointed or dejected, usually the consoling statement that we are told, or at least this is the consoling statement I used to tell people, is that don't worry, God's delays are not His denials. Now, when you're in a happy situation, when everything is going fine, it is easy to think of God's delays not being His denials. But when we are going through the most difficult situations, it could be a breakup, it could be a financial loss, it could be a very terrible situation at work. Different difficult situations, as we go through them, we begin to wonder whether God has forgotten us. We ask Swami, is this only a delay, not a denial? And then, even if it's a delay, how long is this delay going to be? A few hours, a few days, a few weeks, a few months, a few years? Oh my God, what if the delay is for 30 years? How will I wait out 30 years? So basically, this statement that God's delays are not His denials is not actually very helpful in very difficult situations. That is why I thought I would share a couple of experiences related to this. Each one of us will derive our own insight, our own aha moment as we listen to these beautiful experiences, which are nothing but Leelas of our dear Swami. Let me take you back in time to the year 2000. I was a grade 12 student. 12th standard is very important in India. It marks the transition from school to college, and therefore we have the board examinations. It's a central examination conducted across all schools by a board that has been set up by the government, and therefore the marks that you get in your board exam pretty much define what kind of a school student you have been. All your other marks don't matter. You might have been a poor scorer all your life, but you do well in the boards, you're a champ. You might have scored well all your life, but you do poorly in the boards, you're considered as a weak student. So that's the importance of the board exam. But for us students at the Sri Sathya Sai Higher Secondary School in Puttaparthi, the 12th standard board exams marked another very significant, in fact, more significant event in our life. Usually after 12th standard, many students decide to take on professional courses, engineering, along with its multiple branches, or medical, or chartered accountants, different courses, professional courses, none of which exist in the Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning. Which means 12th standard is also a time when we decide whether we will be continuing in the physical presence of Bhagwan or we will be leaving. So this was the critical transition time in the year 2000. All of us, just before our board exams, as we are preparing for this exam, we were preparing for the bigger examination in life, which is how do we decide whether I take on a pure science or a pure commerce course, BCom or BSc that's available in our institute, and be Swami student in a physical sense, or take on a professional course that will help me in my career, my growth, but give up the physical presence of Swami. That was when an inspiring speech by our class teacher, Dr. Shailesh Srivastava, came extremely useful and handy. I still remember it was in the Hillview Stadium, Sri Sathya Sai Hillview Stadium one evening, where all of us students of 12th grade gathered and Shailesh sir began to speak to us. He began with some good news. He told us that though Swami was physically at Brindavan in Bangalore, right before our board exams, we would all travel to Bangalore to Whitefield and seek Swami's blessings, have a darshan and then come back. So that was amazing. Right before the most important examination of our life to see Swami. So we were all thrilled and joshed up about that. That apart, he then said, listen, this is a turning point in all your lives. You will be making decisions that will shape where your life takes you. And then he said, don't get torn apart thinking whether you will remain with Swami or not. Swami has decided the course and charted it for each one of you. And rest assured, life will follow that. You will never be far away from Swami. But whether we stay physically with Swami or don't stay physically with Swami is not in our hands. If Swami has decided that we have to stay here with him, even if we do somersaults and try our best to go away, we won't be able to. At the same time, if Swami has decided that it is time for us to go away physically, whatever we may do, however hard we try, we won't be able to stay here. So, it is not up to us to see whether we will stay here or not. But yes, there's one thing we can do. We can desire intensely in our heart that Swami, we want to be with you. I don't know whether I will be in Puttaparthi or not, Swami, but I want to be with you. This is the prayer that we should all have intensely in our heart. That is our choice. Our desire is our choice. We should desire Swami always. Destiny is where life takes me, where Swami has decided to take me. But free will, my choice is that Swami, wherever I may be taken, I want you, Swami. I want you and I want you with all my heart. But listening to him that day, all of us were convinced that yes, life is too valuable to be offered to anything or anyone else other than God. And therefore, all of us in our heart felt, Swami, we want to be with you. We want to be with you. We want to be with you. It was with this josh that we began to prepare for our visit to Brindavan. A few days later, we left for Brindavan. Early in the morning, We set out in a bus. We reached Brindavan before the morning darshan. We were all offered priority seating among the students. We were in the front. And among us also, the students who sat right in the front held all the letters that we had written to Swami. It was all bundled up, and there was a student and Sailesh sir, of course, holding those letters. Swami came for darshan, very lovingly came towards us, accepted all the letters, blessed all of us, inquired about the examinations, and it was a beautiful darshan session. We were all very happy. We felt that Swami's blessings are there with us. We have had a beautiful darshan. It's a privilege. Nobody in Puttaparthi was having darshan, but we were able to have it. So we were grateful for our board exams for that. But what we were not expecting was, after the darshan got over and Swami went into Trai Brindavan, that is his residence, we got to know that Swami had called all of us to go into his residence for a Trai session. A session in Trai Brindavan. That's a Trai session. We were also thrilled, so we rushed in. We all gathered around that jhula, that swing. Swami came walking in. That presence. I just cannot describe what a joy it is to see Swami and feel him. He comes walking gently, stands in front of the jhula, and then Swami asks, how many doctors here? And to my surprise, I saw around me nobody was raising their hands. I was sure that there were at least 10 boys who had decided to pursue medical, but nobody was raising their hands. That was the impact of Sailesh's speech. See, that is the importance of satsang. That is the impact of a person who speaks with such conviction and motivation. I can never ever forget Sailesh sir in my life. Yes, Swami has showered me with immense love, but I have perceived his love through so many such gems. Sailesh sir is definitely one among them. And because of that, Swami also seemed surprised. What? Nobody in this whole batch want to be doctors. And then the next question that Swami asked was, how many engineers? Again, nobody raised hands. Swami said, hey, this is gas. And we all said, no, Swami, we want to be with you. We want to be with you. Swami was so happy. That pleasure was evident on his face. Swami then sat on the jhula. And what followed next was a memorable Trai session. Beautiful it was. Because after a little bit of preliminary talk, Swami began to deliver a discourse spontaneously. In fact, I have uploaded that entire session separately on YouTube. You can definitely go to the link provided above here and look at it. In short, Swami spoke about 2 things in life that we should never forget and 2 things in life that we should never remember. Let me put it the other way. He spoke about 2 things in life that we should always remember and 2 things in life that we should forget. What are the 2 things that we should forget? We should forget the good we have done to others and we should forget the bad others have done to us. What are the 2 things we have to remember? Death and God. Remember that ultimately we are going to die. Remember God. And then the discourse moved into various aspects. It's so beautiful. I would recommend that you watch the video. Now, as Swami began speaking, the warden of the Brindavan campus, who used to also serve as the translator those days, walked in so that he can translate. But Swami said, no, no need, I don't need. And Swami told Sailesh sir to translate. Sailesh sir is from North India. He hails from Delhi. And yet that day, he translated Swami's discourse entirely. You can watch it in the video. Flawlessly, beautifully.
Individual character which talks about your own personal goodness.
Personally, for me, it was a realization of what it means to be an instrument of Bhagwan. When you are Swami's instrument, you are a flute through which his breath blows. Because of which, though you are a native Hindi speaker, you are able to translate a Telugu discourse into English without missing any point or without making any mistake. So that was a memorable session. In middle of this session, something interesting happened. One of my classmates, Vijay Kumar, who was seated in the front, noticed that there were some coconut shavings, from the coconut, those fibers, that had lodged themselves in Swami's hair. So he told Swami, there is something in your hair. Swami said, is that so? Take it out. And then, much to all our delight and amazement, Vijay just got up, plunged his hand into Swami's hair and removed those coconut shavings. All of us were very thrilled. Possibly everyone in Trai that day would have been thrilled to witness this beautiful scene. Possibly only those two coconut shavings would have felt horrible and sad, thinking, you fellow, you deprived us of the opportunity to lie in the Jata Jhuta of Lord Shiva. But other than those two coconut shavings, all of us were happy. And as I witnessed this, I must say that I also felt, oh, Swami, how I wish I also get a chance to put my hand into your fluffy hair once. So after that, I kept scanning his hair to see by chance if there's another coconut shaving. But even if there was, that coconut fiber decided that I must hide myself or else I'll be plucked away from my Lord. So it hid itself, I think. I couldn't find anything. But that desire came so strongly and I said, I wish I can do it. It was not once, multiple times I kept wishing for that. Anyway, coming towards the end of this session, we sang a song, Dil Yahi Kehta Hai Ma. Beautiful song, again, a composition of Sailesh sir. They had sung it for the first time when they were completing their visit to Kodaikanal with Swami and they were leaving. They said, Dil Yahi Kehta Hai Ma, Sang Rahe Hardam Yahan. Dear mother, my heart says that let us stay together here forever. तेरे प्यार में पलकर हमारी पूरी हुई तमन्नाएं सारी. All our wishes and desires are fulfilled just by being fostered in your love. Beautiful song. We sang it with all our heart and Swami stood listening to it, swaying to it. He was so happy. We were so happy. At the end of it, he told all of us to assemble on the steps of Trai Brindavan, gave us group photographs. He called the warden and he said that these boys are gems. I want all of them to stay with me. You see, take one step towards Swami, he takes 100 towards us. We had all said, Swami, we want to be with you. And Swami was now expressing his desire and he was saying, I want all of these boys to be with me. So this was that memorable interview, Trai session, group photograph that happened. We were all given prasadam. Unforgettable. And we returned back to Puttaparthi. We wrote our board exams. After that, all of us, applied for the Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning. But then, amongst those of us who had applied for the institute, for the university, six brothers, 6 students did not clear the cutoff.